Hello and welcome back to Pseudoregalia. This is BioEnchanted and today we'll be doing quite a lot of exploration in this video. I'm finding a lot of dead ends as well. So first let's check what's up in this room that we unlocked at the end of the last video. There's something I quite like about this game so far is because of how movement heavy the upgrades are. There are some rooms like this where, because in a lot of these kind of Metroidvania type games, you often find a lot of rooms that have a lot of things you can't interact with yet, like a lot of buttons you can't press, or a lot of things like that, or things you can't shoot yet that you might need to get a thing to shoot later. And so it's kind of neat to have this sort of thing instead, where the obstacle is in fact a lack of obstacles because it's all movement based. So you just need to figure out how to get across this room. But here we don't have anything really to kick off. It's kind of impossible for us to really progress here because we just can't reach anything right now. At least I can't. It might be a skill thing I haven't figured out yet, with how certain skills interact, or it could just be that I haven't got the thing I need yet, so instead of wasting too much time here, let's show a different because I do take a few different angles, because of course I do, but yeah, let's move on, shall we? I decided to leave this room and go to the previous area and see what else I could find. So we're back in the main area of Castle Sansa. Because at least now we have the new wall kick ability, so let's see what we can do with that. Now something to bear in mind with this is that the actual kick always results, if you do the air kick with the wall kick ability, like jumping and then pressing the A button, you will always bounce off whatever surface you hit. That's something I didn't realise till later in the video, so there are certain areas where I probably could make the jump, but I don't know that. But here we are back in this area. You've noticed there's already a couple of locked gates, so we're actually back at this statue we were at before, where we got the more powerful attacks. Now quite like already, we already have like 2 gates we can't open yet, and a bunch of directions we can go in that we just haven't yet, because there's just so many options. So let's head this way again and go to where because we already know what's over here. This is the room with all the bubbles. And we also know how to get past it, so let's not waste too much time with it. Let's just get up here. And yeah, that upgrade with full attacks is really helpful, especially against these maid people. But they're still quite dangerous. Because so far these maids are kind of one of the hardest enemy types to deal with for me. I'm just not very good at avoiding their attacks. Partially because they're quite rare. So we're actually going to be going in a different direction in this room than what we did before. But of course this is on the way to that direction, even though we've already been this way in particular. It won't be up there, I'm just taking a look at that to see what it looks like, but I find myself getting distracted by another direction entirely. So remember that room on the left here, that's where we're going to be heading. Making sure I don't accidentally overshoot with the bubbles by getting cocky, I'll take the shorter route. What I quite like as well is this game's already going to start getting quite difficult with how it requires you to use its platforming. For example, in this shaft, where you have to climb quite a long way up using the wall hop abilities, but at weird angles. And of course, if you fall, it's basically instant death. Like here, for example, this basically teaches us we have to sometimes jump on corners, not just back and forth between walls. That's a necessity in this game, so sometimes you just have to find the right angle. And here, I died so many times trying to do this sort of section. Because this is quite a difficult section really to get the hang of. And sometimes I just get the angle slightly wrong here and just end up not making it because of that, which is always annoying. And here we just forgot the knack. And of course the problem here is, if we die, we go straight back to that save point. Which luckily at this point isn't that far, but it's still kind of annoying. Yeah, that was entirely my fault. Don't worry, I don't keep too many of these failures in. So yeah, this is a much easier section now that we're past that bit. Just getting up these little pillars. And towards that room we can see over there. Yeah, it cannot be underestimated how far these bubbles fire you. So we've created a shortcut there. Of course, if we die at this point without hitting another save point, we lose that shortcut, we have to remake it, which is annoying. But it's fair enough though, it's just how these games tend to work. But yeah, here I was just experimenting, but we can't get over there, that's something for much later. So let's stop wasting our time and let's go over to that door, shall we? Yeah, there's a lot of failure cut out there. This is how I meant to make that jump. I tried to wall kick to get there, you can't, you have to do it that way. And into this rather interesting three-way room. And this is another room where I probably could have this is a room where I probably could have figured out how to get up this area if I'd known that trick I mentioned earlier with the fact that if you're doing a dash attack, you'll automatically wall kick, even if you don't want to. That's something, that's a lesson I didn't learn here. So I couldn't figure out how to get up onto this little platform here. So I'm pretty certain you're supposed to do a wall kick off that platform, but then the only way to get over towards the other one is to wall kick is to dash towards it, so kind of feels impossible at this point. That might just be a skill issue on my part, so let's ignore that for now. And see what else we can do. Here we have a little shortcut block. We just need to figure out how to get up there. Of course that's not going to work. We don't have nearly enough jumps to get up there that way. This one's pretty interesting. It's like a little tower with multiple branches. It's kind of a one thing I quite like with this game is that the rooms are quite varied. So even though it's quite a big area with not really much of a map system, because of how varied the rooms are, you can often tell where you are roughly in relation to everything else. So at least you can recognise the rooms you're in and know if you've been in there before. So here we made a little shortcut, but again, frustratingly, not one we can actually reach from here. It's not even a shortcut, that's just progress I think, but can't get there from here, so let's try something else, shall we? Yeah, this part of the game so far, at least as far as I'm exploring going, is, as my exploration goes rather, is essentially just a load of half-finished puzzles. Which is a little bit frustrating for me. But it's still kind of fun to explore though and find what I can and cannot do and what the limits are of my abilities in this game. And it's not all unfinished puzzles, just this first little bit while I'm still figuring out how to actually progress. So let's go back to the main exit from that bubble room, the one we took before. Because we have another exit in this room we didn't do before, which is going to be very key to actually making real progress. Looks like how silly it is getting hit by the music notes from the sousaphone. So yeah, let's go up that way, shall we? solve the little puzzle to get there by jumping up these. Yeah, that was a close one. I nearly kicked off that one to my death. It does seem a little inconsistent sometimes what makes you auto-kick and what doesn't, but it may just be a distance thing as well. But now I've raised that platform, we can get to that other exit from this room, and finally start making real, meaningful progress. So of course now we have a new area. And a pretty interesting one as well, Salsa Keep. Sansa Keep. Well, I keep saying Salsa. Probably because of the font. So, Sansa Keep is quite interesting because you can see it has furniture on the walls. And weird little alcoves like this. It doesn't seem to do anything. It's just such a strange place. And it's very interesting. I'm not quite sure what to make of it really. But it's quite cool to look at though. And I quite like its colour scheme. It's a very mysterious place. With a lot of stuff that we just can't quite do. Like this. We haven't figured this out yet. We have another branch as well. The other thing I quite like with this game is it's got so many big branches all over the place. And it can be kind of hard to tell where you're supposed to go. But it feels in a very kind of intentional way. It's always quite fun to explore because it's such a feeling of adventure really. You never really know what's going to be in the next room. That makes it kind of exciting to try and get to it so you can see what's actually going to happen in there. Like, this room's pretty interesting with the big grate in the middle that clearly acts as some kind of a shortcut using this block eventually. We just need to figure out how to open it. At least that's how I read this room anyway. Because otherwise, what's the point of that block? And here we have a rather interesting big puzzle room as well. There's quite a few enemies to deal with though. 2 sousaphone guys and a sword. So yeah, this can be quite... Some of these fights get a bit hectic. Because there's a lot of enemies doing a lot of things at once sometimes. So let's just experiment with these switches. One thing's a little annoying is you have to wait for the switch to completely play out before you can switch it again. Because it's an indie game, it's probably just a thing that they did to avoid breaking the scripting. Also so they could control the flow of the platforming a bit better as well. So here we go, we have now solved half the puzzle. We still can't quite get to that key because the stairs are too low, because there's a key over there. But, as you can see on that platform there, but it's just too low right now for us to reach there, we just kick off immediately. So we need to raise it further by going to the other side of the room. One thing I quite like the layout of these areas as well is that how it uses these walls sometimes as cover from other things. But of course here we can't quite get up there. I mean, I can probably kick off the little pillar and then reach it from there, but I just didn't think to do that in this particular one of this level. So let's just move on, shall we? And try a different direction. Because I didn't really know enough about the mechanics of the game, or at least the layout of that room, to figure out how to progress in that puzzle. So let's head to the right, shall we? Seems weird that this keep seems to have a vendetta against furniture. There's a lot of dead ends in this place as well. That's what's quite fun, is all these dead ends you see, all these like closed grates and gates that require keys and things like that, and they're just all over the place. And we've only found one key so far and seen one second one. So it's like, how many keys are we going to end up finding, and where are they? It really gives a good feeling of exploration, which I quite enjoy. There's all these like random hidden places, because in most sort of Zelda-style games or Metroidvania games, you end up kind of finding a particular item at the end of each area. So like you get to an area, you get through the area, and then you get rewarded with a movement item or some kind of a puzzle-solving item. But in this game so far, it's just pushing you forward. Because of course we've gone all this way through Sansa Keep, and all we've found is a dead end. What may as well... There's a little area down here that's going to be quite interesting to look into. So we can actually head up there and see what's around this area. But yeah, all we've seen so far is like a load of dead ends as it funnels us to all these little areas that we have no context for. I find that really interesting. Because it makes it feel like a very Souls-like kind of a thing. In that it's just all these random areas with that seem to make sense as far as the castle goes, but we just don't really know how they really interact with each other, or what's happening in each area to make it the way it is. All we know is this place is kind of a mess, and we're having to find our way through it. But here we get at least an upgrade. So 3 of those will increase our magic meter on the left, and that'll be quite helpful, because that'll mean that we'll be able to actually use a magic point without losing power in our sword. Because we'll still be at 3 if we can get up to 4. Yeah, here's me getting a lot better at the wall kicks. I'm kind of getting the hang of how they move. I quite like this giant sword on the wall as well. At first I kind of thought it was a switch of some kind because of the suspicious shape, but then I realised it's the way it's laid out, there's literally no way for it to move, so it's just like a decorative thing. But it's pretty cool though. It gives an interesting mystery as to why is the sword that big? Who is it built for? And here we've already got to a new area. No upgrades, just a whole new area, the Twilight Theatre after Sansa Keep. This is surprisingly like it's a terrifying little platform because it's very easy to accidentally wander off it because it's so narrow. I quite like the music in this area as well. The music in this game is generally quite strong. It's got like each area's got its own feeling to it. Like the Twilight Theatre feels very kind of jaunty, and some areas feel kind of creepy. Yeah, that was entirely my fault. As was this. Always be careful. Always use every platform you see. Well, yeah, clearly I'm getting a lot better at the wall kick and how it moves, and how to chain it into the dash as well. And again, we've gone to the Twilight Theatre briefly and found nothing but another new area. We just keep descending. And now we're back in the dilapidated dungeon from the very beginning, but it's pitch black in this area. And at no point will it actually connect to the previous part of the dilapidated dungeon. It's just a whole new part of it that is far less friendly, and it's literally pitch dark. You can barely see the platforms and make out the lay of the land. You can just about see it. It's lit enough for you to barely make out the platforms and be able to navigate it. So that's not too bad. It saves you from being really frustrated. But it's quite interesting how much darker it is than the tutorial part of the dilapidated dungeon. Quite like that one lonely little torch as well. It brings to mind the idea that maybe the dungeon shouldn't be this way. It's just that's what this little part of it's like. And the fact that the death clouds are a very distinctive colour as well, it really helps. And of course we're also going to places we can't get back from. Like, we don't know what to do with those black orbs yet, so we can't get back up there. I also quite like this area with the falling water from the ceiling. It really kind of gives the place an eerie vibe, because it's like, is it just water? Or is there something on the ceiling that we can't see? But generally I find exploring this game quite fun, because even if I'm not finding items, I'm finding so many new areas, and so many new gimmicks, and like, interesting little things to whet my appetite for what kind of power-ups I'll get to interact with them. Like, will I grapple to the black orbs, or will I need to double jump and then reach them? Yeah, it's that sort of thing. I don't know how they're going to be interacted with yet. It's going to be fun to find out. And now we're in the underbelly. We're just descending further and further into the bowels of this castle. And there's places we just can't get back from. Like if we drop off here, for example, we just can't get back up there right now. So we are stuck in the underbelly now. This game really gives a great sense of feeling incredibly lost. And that's something I really like. It's a very distinctive it's a very deliberate way of doing it as well. It's not just like, I don't know where I am because I'm getting frustrated with it. It's more, I have no idea where I am, but I want to find out. I want to see what's in this next area. Maybe get some context to make it easier to navigate so I can figure out where I am. It really gives a good feeling of being in a place where you have no idea what's going on here or where you are. You're not privy to the logic of this place. You know, quite a well hidden little health upgrade there. But yeah, here these move incredibly quickly, so clearly we'll need to slow time in some way to deal with those. And probably hop across while they're moving. So there's probably going to be a use of like extending our 3 jumps by moving on moving walls that will carry us across this pit, but just not yet, because we cannot do anything with those at the moment. They're way too fast. So we'll figure out what we do to interact with that as well. This is what's really fun about this game, is all this kind of stuff that I have a feeling I can guess how I might interact with it, but I have no real clue if that's how it's going to actually work. And I have no idea where those items will be as well, where those upgrades will be. But all we can do at the moment is just keep descending into the bowels of this castle. We're not even in the castle anymore, we're just kind of like a weird subterranean series of tunnels beneath it that barely seem to have any real human interaction. They've got a few like wooden planks that were placed there and a few little storage things, but for the most part it's almost untouched. It's very eerie down here. The music even brings that to mind as well. It's very kind of Zelda dungeon, very spooky. Of course, is that just decoration? Will I have to break that later? I don't know. Will I be able to break that later? We'll see. Will I get the ability to break wood? I don't know. But here it gets quite hairy in this little area. Or an area coming up, not quite this little area, but as you can see there's this massive pit right now. And we can probably just jump down to save crystal from here, but I don't want to. I want to see what else there is in this area, because that might put me at a disservice. And also I might miss the jump. And so I don't want to. I want to be on the safe side here and just go the other way I know how to use the mechanics, by hopping around these areas. So quite like as well, we've gone from a dilapidated sort of a series of caves. Now we're back at what seems to be man-made, but it's so separated from the rest of the castle. It's like, is it a basement that was built as part of the rest of the castle, or was it there before the castle? I have no idea. Maybe I'll find out. So here's where I get pretty good at the wall kick ability. Here's where I figure out a mechanic that might have helped me in earlier rooms. What I mentioned earlier about automatically kicking off a wall when you hit it. Which of course in this case means not only do we have to corner jump, but we have to hit the walls in a particular way so that we don't accidentally kick off the top one when we get up there. Because you can see I'm getting closer and closer to figuring it out. Almost. Quite like the rapid bassline in the music here as well. It kind of adds to the spookiness of the music, but we're also adding a bit of an actiony bit, because of course we're coming up to an actiony bit. A very small room, in which we have to fight one of these maids. Well, we don't have to, but I do anyway, because she's in the way. I like these little weird, like, floor plates as well. It really kind of makes you wonder what those are even doing here, or are they part of the maid's thing, like... And of course I dropped the sword there as well, because I'm terrible at fighting these maids, and I almost die, and while I'm healing here, I'm just staring at that plate just going, don't you dare. Because that plate nearly killed me, and that would have been frustrating, because I came such a far distance with no save crystals. You really have to go all in this area. And here as well, you may have heard that noise. We're almost down there. We've got a key down there as well, it looks like. So that was me entirely being stupid. Quite this area is still dark, but not in the same way as the dungeon. The whole red atmosphere gives it a really kind of spooky vibe and makes it feel much more oppressive, because it's the same colour in the air as it is in the water. And of course now some of these suits of armour are coming to life and throwing rocks at us, which is just rude. Don't throw rocks at people. So here we are, finally approaching the save point. So, I will see you next time. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and check out my Patreon as well. Speaking of, thank you to James Rossi for supporting me on Patreon.